Today, a new Windows 11 update is hurting your FPS. A new innovative GPU is terrible. Windows subscription incoming, and Intel's Meteor Lake is a disaster. But first, if you love getting the most up-to-date news for PC hardware, make sure you subscribe to GamerMeld. Welcome everyone to GamerMeld. First up for today, Windows 11 23H2 update looks to be causing some users some issues. Specifically, as you can see right here, it's reportedly slowing down gaming performance, at least for some, meaning this doesn't seem to be happening for everyone, but there are quite a few people. As you can see, Windows 11's 23H2 update has been out for a little while now, but some users have reported noticeable drops in gaming performance since installation. Luckily, Microsoft has actually placed the update on compatibility hold for those who haven't already installed it. Now, it is for a different issue, but hopefully they'll be able to fix this along with another issue for when that happens. In the meantime, if you do have the new update, there is a supposed fix. As you can see right here, and this is actually someone who also mentioned that we're talking 5 to 8% slower in every single game. So this does look to, when it does affect you, it looks to affect you quite a bit in pretty much everything. You can also see it says that they are also affected with random stuttering, but all of this is fixed by rolling it back to 22H2. When it comes to the fix, that is this update right here. You can see that they apparently received an update from Microsoft after 3 days, and they told him to reset Windows Defender through a couple of PowerShell commands. Now, from what I understand, it says, Tom's Hardware actually states, he says, while I've tested this method personally and can confirm it doesn't seem to have broken anything on my machine, this author is one of the lucky ones who didn't see any kind of performance drop with the new update, so we can't really say if that does fix it. Still, this is supposedly the fix, but make sure you use caution. And next up, there was a pretty innovative GPU that was announced a little while back by Acer, and that GPU has now been released through their pre-built Predator Orion X, and it's basically a water-cooled GPU. Now, that doesn't really sound all that innovative, new, or anything like that, but what is the fact that all of it is built into the shroud itself, meaning the radiator, the pump, all of that is built into the card, so it more or less looks like a regular GPU. And that sounds pretty interesting, except it sucks. As you can see right here, this originally comes from Kit Guru, and first we have GPU temps, to which you can see that they're pretty much bottom of the barrel. We're talking worse than just about every other air-cooled GPU in the mix. So it's literally worse than any air-cooled GPU, making this completely pointless, but it actually gets even worse. When we look over at acoustic levels, we can see that it's also louder than any other air-cooled GPU, just regular old air-cooled 4090. So yeah, there's really not too much to say about this. It kind of sucks. I don't even understand why they even released it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is in their pre-built system, so there are obviously going to be other reasons to buy the PC, but the reason you do it in-house is to save on costs and therefore either make more profit or bring the price down to make it better compete with others. But in this case, I highly doubt this was cheaper than any other GPU, given what all they had to do to make this thing. So I don't get why they didn't just scrap it and say, hey, we screwed up, this didn't work, this was a terrible idea, or at least we weren't able to make it work, but here we are. And next up, while Windows 10 going away is essentially old news at this point, we heard about it from quite a while back, but if you haven't heard, basically, Microsoft announced that Windows 10, the 22H2 release, was it. They're not going to add any new features to the OS, and as of October 14th, 2025, they are done. We're talking security updates, all of it. The OS will officially be dead. The issue with that, at least as of this counter right here from November 2023, you can see that apparently 68% of users are still on Windows 10, with only 26.66% on Windows 11. I know when they announced it earlier this year, a lot of people thought that would make a ton of people switch from Windows 10 to Windows 11, but it really doesn't seem to have happened. And because of that, it looks like Microsoft is now set to offer subscription plans for Windows 10 users who want to keep getting updates after that October 2025 date. As you can see right here, it says Microsoft has unveiled a new extended security update program for Windows 10, offering a paid subscription for security updates after the operating system's scheduled end of support in October 2025. This marks the first time both consumer and commercial users will have access to extended updates. Quote, if you are an individual consumer or an organization who elects to continue using Windows 10 after support ends on October 14, 2025, you'll have the option of enrolling your PC in the paid Extended Security Updates program, a statement by Microsoft reads. Now, unfortunately, they haven't given us any kind of pricing or anything like that, but I would argue that this is almost certainly either like a beta run, a test run, to kind of see how consumers will take a subscription plan for Windows rather than buying the operating system outright from the beginning. And while that is just my guess, I'd say it's probably a pretty good one. Don't forget that a little while back, Microsoft actually said that Windows 10 was the last version of Windows. That at least told me and quite a bit of others that it could mean that they're going to be moving to a subscription model and they're just going to call it Windows 10 from here on out. Now that obviously didn't happen, but it's looking like Microsoft may have found their chance. Don't forget that other companies like Adobe have completely moved things over to a subscription-based model. They did this quite a while back, and it certainly does seem to be successful for them. Plus, Microsoft has their 365. That is all cloud-based, things like that. I'm not necessarily saying that it's going to be cloud-based, but it very well could be a subscription. And given the fact that the majority of users are still on Windows 10, it seems like this is basically their way of doing that. I mean, if you want updates for Windows 10 after October 2025, you're going to have to pay. And if most people are still on Windows 10, Windows effectively becomes a subscription model. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. And lastly for today, Meteor Lake is here. For those who don't know, Meteor Lake has really been touted by Intel for quite a while now. It's going to have a ton of different new technologies in it. They're going to move to tiled architecture, so they're going to be gluing stuff together just like AMD. Give this video a thumbs up if you get that reference, but that was promised quite a while back. And Intel is late. Not only that, but Meteor Lake was supposed to be coming to desktop and it didn't. Instead, we got a refreshed Raptor Lake, giving me flashbacks of 14 nanometer plus all over again. But here's the thing, it is still coming to notebooks. And with that, we finally got some of our first tests with the Intel Core Ultra 7 155H. Now, this is more of a mid-range CPU, but it gets pitted against AMD's mid-range CPU. And let's just say it's not all that impressive. You can see in this test, the Ryzen 7 7840HS actually beats the 155H in Cinebench R23 single and multi-core, but it actually loses in time spy, but I'm going to get to that in just a second. And then some of these over here, we can actually see that in OpenCL, the 7840HS takes the lead. In Cinebench R15, it takes the lead. R20, it loses a little bit to the X7 155. And then R23, it loses a bit there as well. Then when we look at battery life, it definitely doesn't look all that great for the X7 155 with AMD 7840HS getting significantly better battery life, but the notebooks that were used in these tests do have different batteries and things like that. So this one is really tough to say for sure, but here's the thing, the X7 155 was pulling, I believe, right around 40 watts, which is fairly similar to the 13500H, and yet it actually lost to that one in some of these, and really it pretty much just looks neck and neck to Intel's last gen, except of course things like OpenCL, which is going to be their iGPU. And that's where things get very interesting, because quite a bit of outlets are touting this CPU as beating the 780, which technically it does. You can actually see this one right here is a 3D Mark Time Spy score, and the 155H absolutely beats AMD's 780M. But there's an issue here. This is based on Intel's Arc, and there's already GPUs out that are based on their Arc like the A770 and A750. And if you've been following those reviews, you'll notice that Intel does really good in 3D Mark's Time Spy, which is exactly what this is. So we have the A770 and A750 crushing the RTX 3060 Ti, but when we look at actual games, we can see the 3060 Ti 97.3 FPS on average, completely destroying both the A770 and A750. Now, I will say that since this review was out, Intel has done quite a bit of updates. They have gotten faster in different games, so maybe this would be different now, but the simple fact is that from what we can see, Intel does really good in Time Spy, not all that great in regular gaming. Which means that the Meteor Lake CPU actually, or the iGPU, sorry, actually isn't all that impressive. And with that said, maybe it does beat the 78AM in some titles, and that is good, but this was just supposed to be a massive jump for Intel, and especially given we're looking at these CPU scores, and it's just sad. Hopefully by the time Intel releases these CPUs, they'll be significantly better, but I highly doubt they're going to be able to get that much performance from then to now. Time, as always, will tell. So while that does it for today, are you as disappointed in Intel's Meteor Lake as I am? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. And as always, have a great day.